Hi, Selah. I'm at the studio, and I told you I would try to send you a video to finish up that piece of artwork. I don't know if you're still interested or not, but if you ever get a free moment and you want to do it, maybe you're already done with it, I don't know. But I'm going to do a little step by step on my own to show you, okay? So here is that line drawing that I started, and you had yours in the same phase. It was pretty much just white paper, nice heavy Bristol board or watercolor paper, and then the markers. The markers shouldn't run by getting wet, so they're permanent markers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay in some light washes of watercolor, but before I do that, and then we'll come back lastly with some colored pencil and maybe more paint. Just have fun with it. Don't think of it about, oh, I can't mess this up. Just have fun with it. It's really about the process, and you'll learn something that you can take with you for the next time you do something creative. Get yourself a couple glasses of water. Sure, you can get a third one if you want to drink some, but one is to clean the brushes, and then make sure I've got an extra, just any kind of cup of water or a little bucket. I've always got paper towels because I make a mess. Watercolor brushes, if you got them. I really didn't have any watercolors. Good thing we didn't try to do that while you were here, because I forgot I had not painted in about 25, 30 years as far as watercolors. So I went and bought some, and they come in little tubes like this. There's different kinds, or you can buy them in a set at Hobby Lobby or some kind of art store, or even Walmart. And it's okay if you buy those kind that come in a little palette, like a lot of school sets will have. But I had so many different colors in this one set. I had more colors than I had places in a tray, and I bought this little palette. You want the paint to dry, so this is watercolor, not oil paint, so it's okay if it dries because you'll get it moistened again. So start with something like that. I know you don't, I've got 20 colors or so, you don't need that many, but this just happens to be what I had. And I'm not gonna be able to just have a video going all the time, but I'm gonna show you a few things along the way, okay? And one more thing I forgot to mention, we'll probably come back in with colored pencils. I've got all different kinds of colored pencils. They're cheap ones, like these are Twistables, Crayola brand, 18 different colors. They're kind of oily, or they got the Prismacolors. I got this set that you remember seeing over here. But you can buy them in small sets, or if you've only got 3 or 4 colors, or just graphite. It doesn't matter. But just to show you, those are the supplies I'm going to use. That, maybe graphite and some more marker, who knows, watercolor, and just have fun with it. What I don't want to do is ruin the white space. I don't want to take away every bit of white space on here, so I have to think that through. And like I say, it's not gonna be perfect by any stretch, so just have fun with it and think of it as just a learning step. And by the way, you don't have to have a fancy palette or tray like this. You can literally have a styrofoam paper plate, or maybe 2 or 3 paper plates to give you some weight. Squeeze a little bit of paint, not all of it. I'm going to use this over and over again, so I'm going to I squeezed an entire tube out. I here had a couple of whites and some blues, etc. Kind of the rainbow spectrum as it goes around, but don't have to be expensive. Just plates, plastic, anything you can squeeze the paint out onto. And remember, when it dries, watercolor, you've probably done watercolor before. Your dad has done it. But like this orange right here, I got my brush wet, and I got the orange going, and I just kind of mix right here, and you can see that even though it's dry, it moistens up and loosens again. That's the difference between acrylic and watercolor, and of course oil-based watercolor. Once oil-based or acrylic dries, it's a hard plastic, and it'll never be loosened up again. First thing I want to do is I want to make some areas wet, because I want to do wet on wet. What that means is you get the paper wet, so I'm taking a clean brush, the cleanest water I've got there, and I'm just going to brush over some areas. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. I'm going to try it. I'm brushing over areas. Ooh, I'm just realizing my paper's not as great as I thought. So, yeah, keep this in mind. I thought that was watercolor paper. That bristle board's not very good. Well, see how that paper's acting? Maybe plan B, but I'm going to go ahead and get one section of it wet. You can try it. And like I say, the black paint's not running or anything. I'm going to take a little bit of that orangey. I don't really want to use orange, but hey, it doesn't matter. I don't really have an idea what to do here. I'm just thinning it down, watery, and I'm just going to put it on here. Very pale, okay? And I'm going to let it go like that. But notice there's a little bit, it's very subtle. I'm going to do that in and around. I'm just going to put some subtle, light, watery washes here and there.
and not thinking too hard about it, okay? Just have fun with it. And your color is not realistic. I mean, there's no specific background color. I know I want my ice cream to be possibly white, my cherry to be red, but other than that, it doesn't matter. Now what I've done, I've just blocked in some orange, okay? No rhyme or reason. I just want a little orange on all sides, kind of light and washed. And I'm going to pick a couple of other colors. I don't want to get too carried away to color in some other areas. And then I'm going to come back, let that dry really well, and I'll come back with colored pencils. Okay? Go as much color or as little as you want, but just don't go too dark too soon. Remember, watercolor is light to dark. You go your lightest first, and if you want white, it's strictly the white paper showing through. Now I've got some white watercolor. It's actually a gouache, but I'm going to try not to use that, okay? So it'll be more like transparent watercolor. Another thing, I didn't really talk about the brushes. Watercolor brushes are really soft bristles usually. They're just more flexible than, oil paints or acrylics. They're really, bristles are stiff. These are very soft and they hold a lot of paint. My bristles were actually white, so therefore the paint will kind of stain it. Just clean it as good as you can. Notice I've got 2 glasses of water. This is the one over here that I just clean with. This one, when I want to apply new colors, I'll get the cleaner water. I'll trade these out, change them out every once in a while, get fresh water. Okay, the next thing is I want to check a second color. I've got a light orange wash, and I want to use kind of a baby sky blue or cerulean blue. So I'm going to go over here to my palette. I cleaned my brush out pretty good, just to kind of get some of this blue pigment, and I'm going to move it over here. If you mix orange and blue, they're kind of, not quite complements. It'll start to get a little gray on you, so you have to be careful. So I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to block in some light blue here and there. This isn't completely dry. I'm not very patient here, but I'm going to start blocking in some colors, some blue colors here and there. And it's okay if it overlaps. Now this is very pale, see? I put in they're very pale. But that's okay, I want to go darker later. And I want some at the top. I'm going to overlap a little here and there. And like I say, I'm just doing it by feel. There's no rhyme or reason. By the way, the lines underneath, they're not guidelines. This isn't like a coloring book. So I'm just putting some blue hue here and there and let it show through. It's transparent, so if I put blue over the orange, like right here, yeah, it'll change a little bit. It'll get a little brownish, so I have to be a little careful. I don't want to do too much brown and get muddy colors. But anyway, don't want to overdo it, but I do want to have a little bit more blue. Get a little more water. Sorry, I can't. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so if I miss something, forgive me. Okay. I'll come back in later and do what's called dry brush, where I put in more colors and more specifically. But right now, I'm just trying to block in some areas where I want to have blue and orange. I wouldn't put every color in the rainbow. It starts to get a little bit muddy. So right there, it's okay. Okay, I'm gonna go a little blue down here and let it fade out. Okay, it's happening, and I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll do another color. Okay, the next thing is I want to check a second color. I've got a light orange wash, and I want to use kind of a baby sky blue or cerulean blue. So I'm going to go over here to my palette. I cleaned my brush out pretty good, just to kind of get some of this blue pigment, and I'm going to move it over here. If you mix orange and blue, they're kind of, not quite complements. It'll start to get a little gray on you, so you have to be careful. So I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to block in some light blue here and there. This isn't completely dry. I'm not very patient here, but I'm going to start blocking in some colors, some blue colors here and there. And it's okay if it overlaps. Now this is very pale, see? I put in they're very pale. But that's okay, I want to go darker later. And I want some at the top. I'm going to overlap a little here and there. And like I say, I'm just doing it by feel. There's no rhyme or reason. By the way, the lines underneath, they're not guidelines. This isn't like a coloring book. So I'm just putting some blue hue here and there and let it show through. It's transparent, so if I put blue over the orange, like right here, yeah, it'll change a little bit. it'll get a little brownish, so I have to be a little careful. I don't want to do too much brown and get muddy colors. But anyway, don't want to overdo it, but I do want to have a little bit more blue. Get a little more water. Sorry, I can't. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so if I miss something, forgive me. Okay. I'll come back in later and do what's called dry brush, where I put in more colors and more specifically. But right now, I'm just trying to block in some areas where I want to have blue and orange. I wouldn't put every color in the rainbow. It starts to get a little bit muddy. So right there, you know, it's okay. Okay, I'm gonna go a little blue down here, let it fade out. Okay, it's happening, and I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll do another color. All right, the third and probably the last paint color I'm gonna put is a red orange, or I could go red, but I'm just got my red and my orange paint here, and I've got a really watery wet brush because I don't want it to be too dark, and I didn't let it dry real well because I'm being impatient, but I'm gonna just kind of put it in places maybe where I think I want it to go, and I'm doing little thin strokes. By the way, this watercolor brush is a 1 inch in width, and it's kind of flat, so you turn it this way, it can draw a line, but you turn it this way, it's a broad stroke. So just be careful. I don't want to overdo it. Here again, it's still just kind of watery down and not too intense color. And I'm being really cautious because I don't want to overdo it with color, because I want to leave room for colored pencil. In fact, I mean, do you think this is probably really subtle? And it really is. I'm putting in a few little lines here and there because they just give a little bit of animation to it. Not much, just a little bit here and there. Okay, I'm gonna let that go. All right, the next step, Selah, I'm gonna use some other brushes, smaller brushes. I've got this one that's kind of, if I can get it up here. Okay, it's kind of flat. It's like that bigger one that was 1 inch, but it's a 1/2 inch, it's smaller. I'm gonna use more intense pigment. I'm gonna use that because I can draw lines and I can make strokes. And then I've got another brush that's it's called a round, so it's smaller and round. If I want to do like little dots or strokes, I can use that. And then lastly, this is called a liner, and it's really a cool thing. I got somebody knocking at my door, but I think they're hanging something on the wall. This is a liner. It's one of my favorite brushes for drawing thin lines. It's very forgiving because it's long, but it's very flexible. So I'm going to do that. I'm gonna put in some detail real quick. I'm gonna start with the larger brush and go to the smaller brush. Okay, Selah, I've added some red with that same brush, and I want to show up some close-ups, some things I did. Like again, it's not totally mindless, but I'm just having fun. I don't want to crowd too many things, but look at this little area. There was a black swirl, kind of an orange, and I'm not trying to color in the lines like a coloring book. In fact, when you leave those little white spaces in between, it kind of gives it vibrancy and life. Notice the little marks. So I'm just really mark making. And so I'll zoom out here so you can look at the whole thing for a moment. Feel free anytime to kind of pause, rewind. It is video. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the little liner brush, which is so fun. And then I'm going to let everything dry good, and I'll probably come back in then with colored pencils and graphite. All right, now I'm gonna use that liner brush. That's my favorite little skinny brush. Get it wet, and like I said, if you don't have this, use something like that, the smallest brush you've got. The length of this makes it really forgiving. So I haven't used the orange as far as detail, so I'm gonna go get my orange pigment, putting a lot of water on top of this, get it down in there, get my brush kind of full of orange pigment. I'll wipe this all off, by the way, every time after I'm done. I'll take a wet paper towel and then a dry one. I'll wipe that off. But I'm just going to put in some detail here. I know that's a cherry, so I should have had that red, okay? But I'm just doing marks, but skinny little detail that will actually be kind of fun in the end. Notice these little confetti-like little shapes. I put a few little in the other thing too, but I may put little circles around them. I don't know. Just having fun. Just don't want to crowd it up. Sometimes the worst thing you can do is put too much. And I know it gets easier as you do it more and more and more, so don't be hard on yourself. I'm not doing too much on the interior yet, although I probably should. I think I'll go ahead and put some orange here. I'm just going to kind of trace this line, but go outside of it a little bit. Don't do too exact. I love these long skinny brushes. They really are fun. Well, I'm cleaning my brush off real quick. I'm going to come get some red. Switch over to the red, and I'm going to do the same thing with this and just kind of, I'm not worrying about the lines too much, you know, as far as outlining, but it's just going to make it alive and fun. It just does something. Okay, I may be getting too much. I don't know. I think I'm going to stop there and let it dry, and then I'll get colored pencil or graphite and just start putting in some shading detail here and there. Oh, the little dots. I think I do want to do that. I'm going to grab this other brush that I haven't used, which is just kind of a small round one, so I can color in the dots on the word ice cream. Okay? I'm going to use the same color palette. I don't want to start adding a whole bunch of new colors. By the way, I don't care if it's perfectly in there. You know, I want a little bit of white showing, so I'm just kind of guessing here and there. Okay? Yeah, I'm gonna clean my brush out again and get some red. Do the same thing now with the red. In fact, okay, it's okay to miss the lines a little bit. In fact, it makes it all more forgiving and fun if it doesn't look too perfect. Then lastly, I'm going to put in orange. If I didn't limit the color palette to like just 3 colors, it'll start to look like it just because I'm tempted to want to add green and stuff, but I don't. I just want to limit it. So I'm going to get back to that orange, and let's fill in some of these with orange. Yeah. Here again, I'm not coloring it all the way. I want to leave a little bit of white space showing. It's transparent, so I might even put some in here that didn't have a circle drawn. Okay? That is enough. Okay? Now, as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the word Sunday, and it looks kind of bland, and I'm just going to do, probably shouldn't, but I'm going to go a little orange around the bottoms, just kind of like a, not really a shadow, but just, okay, leaving that alone. Something I forgot to tell you, Selah, I put on like a little apron, because even though it's watercolor, it will stain, so be careful what you're wearing, or if you're on a table or something's got a tablecloth, it can stain. Certain colors are worse than others, so just be careful. So I've got this going so far. It's already getting pretty busy, so I'm not going to add any more paint. The rest is going to be colored pencil and graphite. I don't really have any technique, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish it, send it to you along with this video, and I know you're a smart girl and you'll look closely at things, and you don't have to emulate me. I think you learn a lot by copying someone, but then at some point you'll kind of want to experiment and do your thing. All right? I apologize for this being kind of late. It's been a couple weeks since you guys have been here, but hopefully it'll be fun and you'll finish it out and you'll show me what you did, okay? God bless. See you. All right, I think I'm through enough. I'm going to go over this closer, and I'll send the real thing to you. As you can see, little detailed pencil lines, markers, some colored pencil, making more little marks. See if I can get close without getting in the shadow, but you see little pencil marks. It doesn't take much. In fact, just to add a little sparkle. And what it does, it makes the entire surface kind of interesting. And also I took black marker, and I don't know if you can tell, but I made it a little bit bolder around some of my edges. Not solid, but just some of the edges to kind of help define my focal point, which was my ice cream sundae. It was just all kind of blending, so I wanted it to pop out a little bit more. And then I also put black around some of these edges, so my edge is not just, it's kind of interesting. All right. Well, thanks for humoring me, Selah. Hope you have fun making your ice cream sundae drawing. All right. Love you, girl. Bye bye.